Welcome back to Praxis Test Prep. If you're new here, we're all about helping you pass your teacher certification exams with ease and confidence. If you would like to join our community of educators, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss out on our Praxis Test Prep tips and strategies. Also, feel free to comment down below with any questions that we haven't answered yet in our video series. Today, we are covering 5 innovative techniques to boost your reading skills and help you pass your Praxis. Ready to take your reading to the next level? Let's jump right in. Reading skills are the primary focus of many of the most commonly administered Praxis exams, including Praxis 5002 Elementary Education and Praxis 5713 Core. Each of these exams will focus on your ability to understand, analyze, and evaluate written passages. Every Praxis exam, however, will test your reading and comprehension, since every Praxis is ultimately a written exam where you will have to read and understand questions in order to correctly answer them. Many of the skills I shared today will be most applicable when taking one of the Praxis reading exams, but don't forget them as you take your Praxis math, science, or social studies exams either. With that in mind, let's get into it. Technique number 1 is the most important and will form a foundation that you can build on. It's called active reading. Some of you may already be familiar with this technique, especially in a physical setting where active reading involves annotating directly on the page and underlining key points or important words. Praxis exams are all delivered in a digital format, however, so our approach will need to be a little different. Specifically, I recommend using your computer pointer to guide your eyes along the lines of the text. This will help you hone in and focus your mind entirely on the passage while also tuning out possible distractions. It will also help you achieve a consistent reading pace and prevent regression, our natural tendency to read text. Active reading can also be described as reading with a purpose. The key to understanding any written passage is to engage with it in a conscious and deliberate manner. And I don't think any of us are reading Praxis material just for fun. Remember, this is a test, and everything on it has been chosen by a test writer for a specific reason. When reading multiple choice questions, keep an eye out for these specific words or phrases which test writers use to signal a specific type of analysis or approach. Most or best indicate that there may be several correct options, but one is more correct than the others. You are being asked to select the answer that is the most complete or most directly addresses the question. An example question might be phrased as, choose the answer that best aligns with the author's point of view on cell phone usage in the classroom. Least or worst indicates the opposite and is asking for the answer with the smallest degree of correctness or relevance. Always indicates that the correct answer must be true without exception. An example question might be phrased as, according to the author, which is always an acceptable reason for a student to use their cell phone in class, and never indicates the opposite and is asking for the answer that must be false without exception. Another flavor of this is when you see the words except or not in the question. These words indicate that you must look for the answer choice that does not fit with the others and does not correctly answer the question. Test writers like to include these as a trap, since we typically expect to select the right answer, not the opposite. An example question might be phrased as, the author is likely to agree with all of the following reasons to ban cell phones in the classroom except blank, with answer choices that complete the sentence. Finally, look out for the words main or primary. Many Praxis reading exam questions will ask you to read something and then summarize or evaluate it. Main and primary are some of the most common question modifiers and indicate that you are being asked to identify the central focus of a given passage. There may be more than one answer that feels partially correct, but you are looking to identify the author's core point and the one they emphasize the most. An example question might be phrased as, the primary focus of this passage is to blank, with answer choices that complete the sentence. All right, let's move on to our second technique, pre-reading the questions. This is particularly relevant on your Praxis reading exams, where much of the test will be structured as follows. First, you will be given a relatively long passage to read, and then you will be asked 3 to 4 questions about it. Our natural tendency is to start by reading the passage first, simply because it appears first. However, there's nothing stopping you from skipping right by the passage and reading the questions first instead. And in fact, this is exactly what I recommend you do. The questions will always be much shorter than the passage itself, and by starting with the questions first, you get a sense for what you should be looking for in the text. This will help direct your attention to key details or concepts that are relevant to the questions, making your reading more focused and efficient. It will also allow you to prioritize the information you need to find in the passage, saving you time by allowing you to gloss over less relevant parts of the text. This brings me to my third technique, skimming. Just because the test writers put a large chunk of text on the test doesn't mean that they expect you to read it all. In fact, many passages will include extra paragraphs or details that have nothing to do with the specific questions that you will be asked to answer. The trick, though, is knowing when to skim and what to look for. When pre-reading the questions, make note of any keywords or quotations that you can look for when going back to review the passage. Sometimes, the test writers will even do the work for you, and the question will identify the specific line number in the passage that it is referring to. This is not a trick. If the test writer asks you to define a word or clarify a sentence in line 5, then you can trust that your answer can be found by focusing in on line 5. This brings us to my fourth technique, making use of context clues. Sticking with my prior example, let's say that you are asked to define an underlined word in line 5 of the passage. You quickly jump to line 5 and the word is abstruse, a word you've never encountered before and cannot begin to define on your own. When faced with an unfamiliar term, pay attention to the words and sentences around it. Let's review the broader context here from the example passage. Jenna found herself perplexed by the professor's latest lecture despite having spent several years studying advanced physics. The concepts seemed unusually complex and the theories were so abstruse that even the brightest students in the class were struggling to understand them. By using context clues, you can start to outline a general theme. Perplexed, unusually complex, and struggling to understand all provide hints to the meaning of abstruse and combine to suggest a rough definition of confusing. Finally, my fifth and final technique, summarizing. Summarizing can be defined as distilling the essential ideas and key points from a text into a concise and coherent overview. After pre-reading the questions and then skimming over the passage, it is often helpful to create a brief summary in your mind of what you have just read. This forces you to put the author's text into your own words and will shine a light on any areas of confusion that you may still have about what the author is trying to say. It also gives you an immediate gauge of whether you spent enough time with the passage while skimming and whether or not you need to go back and reread certain sections. Finally, many questions on the exam will focus specifically on your ability to summarize, so by practicing this skill on all passages, you will get more confident with one of the most common question types. And you may even find yourself voicing the correct answer before you read it in multiple choice options. And there you have it, my top 5 techniques for Praxis reading success. If you are looking for more Praxis test prep tips and techniques, check out our other videos. We're adding more videos to this channel every week as we tackle more of your questions. And don't forget to head over to study.com and consider one of our comprehensive Praxis test prep courses. Happy studying, and we'll see you in our next video.